In this case, what do we have? We have the hypotenuse, and we need to find the opposite to the angle. So which rule has a hypotenuse and the opposite to the angle? So we have the opposite, and we have the hypotenuse. Which rule is it? It's صح, right? But I need, because I used it, I'm not gonna do this here. We need to use this one here. Okay? So here in this question, I have the adjacent and I have the opposite. So I'm gonna use the ratio of tau, right? Which is tangent 30, tangent 30, your calculator, or just tan, you find it, tan 30, equals to the opposite, which is x, over what? Over the adjacent, which is 17.2. So cross multiplication, here we have it as 1. Simply, x times 1 is just x, equals to 17.2 times it with tangent 30, which you're going to have in your calculator. Simple as that. So we're going to do 17.2 times it with tan 30. Simple as that on your calculator. Make sure to close the bracket. It would be 9.93 centimeter. This is the value of x, guys. This one here. This is the opposite, the value of opposite, okay? What if we had something else? Okay. Here we need to find the hypotenuse again. But this time I am given the adjacent, okay? So I have the adjacent this time. So I need to find the hypotenuse there. So I need to find the hypotenuse. I have the adjacent. I have the angle also. Which rule is it? Of course, kah, which is cosine something. So cosine 30, okay, equals what? Equals the adjacent, which is 15.6, over what? Over the hypotenuse. Check the rules back there. Over the hypotenuse is x in this case. So cross multiplication like before. Here 1, 15.6 times 1 is 15.6, and x times it with cosine 30. I want x on one side. So I'm going to divide both sides by cosine 30 because the opposite multiplication is division to get rid of it. And here you go. You're going to have your value there. So we're going to type 15.6 divided by cosine 30, which is going to be 18.01 centimeter. Okay? So, yeah. So we have the adjacent and we have the hypotenuse. I need to find one of them, which is the hypotenuse in this case. You're going to think of the cosine rule. What if we don't have an angle? Okay? Like, for example, this one. This guy. Okay? And we have both of these. We said this one is 18.01 like we got in the question. But we don't have the angle and we need to find it. What do I do in this case? So we don't know this. It should be 30, by the way. It should be 30, but we need to show you how. It's using the same rule. Cosine, I don't have it this time. So we're gonna name it x. Cosine x, we don't know it. Equals what? Equals, which is gonna be the adjacent, 15.6, divided by 18.01. So cosine x equals that one, right? Because there is multiplication here. How about I divide? But you can have a simpler thing. How about divide by just cosine? How about you do something else? Okay, you do this x, okay, equals cosine or shift cosine 15.6 over 8.01. On your calculator, you're gonna press shift then cosine and you have this form here shown to you. After you do that, you're gonna get your value, which should be 30. So let's check it out together. And change the mode, remove mouse, okay. So we're gonna do something shift, and then we're gonna have to press also cosine. So you're gonna have this form. Cosine, we said 15 fraction bar, 15.6 over 18.01, I believe, 18.01. Yeah, the nearest thing to 30, right? Look, it's 29.9. If we round, it's gonna be 30. So here you go. That's simple as it is. So when you don't have an angle, simply press Shift cosine and you have this form in front of you. It's really important. The next one here, when you have quadratic equations and you want to draw them, because we already know something called the straight line equations, right? Or the linear equations. But when we have a quadratic equation, x squared, there is something that is going to be drawn, is called a parabola. This was called parabola, okay? Having something called the minimum value here, but it doesn't concern us now. What you need to know that this coefficient here is 1, actually is positive. That's why we draw it this way, like a letter U. But when it's y equals minus x squared, it is going to become it's going to become inverted in this manner, having the maximum value there. So here this parabola is negative, like letter N negative, because it has negative sign there. So if I had something like y equals 2x squared, it's going to be the same thing but narrower. But narrow, not wider. This guy is wider, this guy is narrower. And the same here, inverted and everything, but it's going to be narrower. This will give you clue for this, for what's coming. But if I had something like something called the y-intercept, what this means is the point where we have our, here for example, the maximum point here, the maximum value, where it should be on the vertical line, which is the y line. It's positive 3. So if I have my graph here, and I know for a fact that 3 is somewhere here, when I put this, it should be like this. Sorry. When I put this, it should be like this, guys. It should be there. Okay? Because of what? Because it has the y-intercept plus 3. Even though if it's negative, it's just going to be drawn as n. The same here. It's positive. If I have like minus 2 here, when I draw the graph on the y-axis, the minus 2 will be somewhere here, right? So when I draw the graph, I'm going to put this here, where this point goes through the minus 2 on the vertical line, which is the y line. This is x line and y line. So let's look at these. As you can see, this is y equals x squared because it goes through the origin. Since we don't have a y-intercept, means 0. That's why it goes through the origin as a minimum point there. This, because it has 2x squared, is going to be narrower, and it's going minus 7 here. And this one is plus 5 and minus x squared, that's why it's inverted, and this it's wider. And we have minus x squared here, it is inverted, okay, and wider. This one is minus 2x squared, it is what, narrower, and it's going through the origin because we don't have the same here, because we don't have an y-intercept. It's not written. And yeah, this is y equals 2x squared. As you can see, guys, it's going to be narrower, like I mentioned, and it's going through the origin. So how do you complete this one here, having the straight line equation given to you? A straight line equation basically, guys, is y equals mx plus c. This is called the gradient. This is called the y-intercept, which I showed you earlier. We don't care about this. What we care about here is that we need to find the values for the y. Simply, all you gotta do is the following. The equation is 2x squared plus 10, right? So let's put here there. And let's open our calculator. And let's put it on the right side, as you can see here, guys. So let's look at what we have. What do we have? Just a second. Alright. So what we're gonna do, guys, here in this case, all you gotta do is to write the equation here, this one. But you have to change the mode of your calculator. Press mod, go to table, you find usual calculators as number 7. So that's your calculator is going to be f of x. F of x is the same as y. So then now you press 2, now you press alpha, bracket, and you give it the power of 2, because this is what you have in your question. Plus 10, as you can see there. This is your equation, equals. We don't have something called g of x, so we skip it. What is the start? The start is minus 3 with the value of x, minus 3. Not minus 10, is, I went back. So what was the equation? 2 alpha x squared plus 10 equal. The value is going to be minus 3 as a start, and as the end, just 3. The step is 1, meaning each and every time I'm adding 1, that's why. So equals. And here you go, the values. When minus 3, we're going to have it as 28. When minus 2, we're going to have it as 18. And when minus 1 is going to have it as 12. Then 10. Then another 12 there. And then 18. And then 28. Okay? It's really important to know that. Now I have my coordinates. Okay? And you're going to plot it on your graph. For example, when you have minus 3 and 28, minus 3 is here, right? 28 is up there somewhere here, right? So you're going to draw something that represents until, like, for example, let's say I'm going to draw it now for you, okay? So let's make this longer, even longer. So let's make this even longer. Okay. So let's say here it's like 5, then 10, then 15, then 20, 25, and 30, 35, and 40. So we have it as minus 3 and 28. 28, let's say it's somewhere here, right? So 28 and minus 3, they meet up where? They meet up here. So we're going to draw my x here. And so on and so forth. And then you connect them all together to draw you a nice parabola. It would be looking like this, for example. Since it's going to be going through the 10, so it's going to be looking something like this. Okay? All right? You're going to figure out yourself how it's been done. So then you go to the next part, guys. So y equals mx plus c there, certain equation. This is called the gradient. Whatever value we get here is called the gradient. And this is called the y-intercept, which is the value that the line crosses through the y-axis. And it has to be shown always like this, meaning the y on one side, nothing else beside it. So as you can see here in our questions, or our equations given here, the y, there is something else beside it. There's another term beside it. So I have to get rid of it to get my y-intercept, to get my, to get my straight line equation. So I'm going to have to take the minus 3x to the other side, meaning y will be equaling now plus 3x, because we changed it, plus 12 there. So this is my straight line equation. And this one here, we're going to take it to the other side. So it's going to be y equals, since what was plus is going to become now minus third x and plus 7, as you can see. So what is the gradient here? The gradient here in this one here, this little guy, the gradient here, this one here, the gradient is number 3. So it's 3. So the gradient here is 3. So the gradient here, the gradient is equal to 3. The y-intercept is 12. Plus 12 is 12. And here the gradient is what? The gradient is minus third. This coefficient of x. And the y-intercept is what? Is 7. Simple as that. Very easy, right? Simultaneous equations or basic equations showing the same values of x and y. We need here to use the elimination method to know the values of x and y. And we need basically to get rid of either the x or y. In this case, we're going to get rid of that. Very good. Get rid of the x. So we're going to subtract to do that. So x minus x is going to be 0, eliminated. 6y minus 5y is going to be just y. And we're going to have 77. And the minus 77 minus what? Minus 39, which is going to be 38. So the value of y is going to be 38, guys. It's really easy, right? So since I have the value of y as 38, as simple as that, no questions asked, I'm going to have to use one of the equations to get the value of x, okay? So how to get the value of x? I'm going to take the first one, for instance. I'm going to put x plus 6y equals 77. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the 6y to the other side. So x equals 77 minus, because this was plus, 6y. Instead of y, I'm going to replace it with the number I got, which is 38. So, mister, it's 6 times 38. Yes, actually not just 6, it's minus 6. So you do this, minus 6 times it with 38 is going to be minus 228. And here you go. So the value of x is going to be here, 77 minus 228. So it's going to be obviously a minus value there. So the value of x is going to be minus 151. Okay? If you want to make sure, when you place the minus 100 minus 151 plus 6 times 38, which is what we got, as 228, okay, it's going to be equal, no doubt, 77. So when you do minus